Ever stopped and like actually thought about what you're breathing in? Not just, like, oh, air, but like the actual stuff floating around. Whether you're at home or in the office, even in your car, there's a whole hidden world in the air, right?
And figuring out what's in that invisible world is becoming, well, kind of a big deal.
Oh, absolutely. It's more important than ever. And that's actually what we're diving into today. We've been going through this really in-depth report from Cognitive Market Research, and it's all about the market for VOC sensors.
VOC sensors.
Yeah, volatile organic compound sensors. They're the devices that can actually detect those often invisible chemicals that come from, well, pretty much everything around us. Like paint, cleaning products, even furniture.
Okay, so like an air quality thing.
Exactly. But it goes way beyond just air quality, right?
Yes.
Understanding this market, this whole world of VOC sensors, it's actually important for all of us. It affects our health, safety, even the regulations that shape our world. So for everyone listening, think of this as like your crash course on VOC sensors. Our mission today is to pull out the most important insights from this market research, find out who the major players are, and understand why this market is growing so fast.
Right. This report is like our roadmap for this deep dive. And just to give you an idea of how big this is, in 2024, the VOC sensors market was valued at a whopping 156.6 million USD. But here's the kicker. By 2032, it's expected to hit 249.6 million USD. That's a compound annual growth rate of 6%.
Wow, 6% growth rate year on year. That's pretty huge. So what's driving all this growth? What's pushing this market forward?
Well, there are a bunch of factors, actually, all kind of connected. But I think the biggest one is like the global awareness around air quality. People are like finally realizing how much air pollution affects their health, whether it's indoors or outdoors.
Yeah, you can't open the news without seeing something about air quality these days.
Exactly. And, hand in hand with that comes a bigger focus on safety in industries. A lot of industrial processes release VOCs, and some of those can be, really dangerous, even cause accidents. So reliable VOC detection is super important for protecting workers.
Yeah, makes sense. You wouldn't want to be working around, hazardous fumes without knowing it. What else is driving this growth?
Well, there's also the whole thing about regulations. Governments everywhere are like tightening the rules on air quality all the time. So industries are turning to VOC sensors to make sure they're meeting those standards and avoiding any penalties, obviously.
Right, so it's not just companies being like environmentally conscious, it's the law.
Exactly. And, VOC sensors aren't just for factories and stuff. They're being used in so many different places. It's kind of surprising. We're seeing them pop up in healthcare, in cars, in buildings, even in the oil and gas industry.
I have to admit, I didn't think they were used in so many different areas.
Oh, yeah. Think about it. In hospitals, they can help keep the air clean and prevent infections. In cars, they can monitor for pollutants in the cabin so you can breathe easy, literally. And in buildings, they can be part of smart systems that control ventilation and make things more energy efficient.
So it's about like more than just detecting bad stuff in the air. It's about managing the whole environment, right?
Exactly. And all this is leading to a need for sensors that are not just accurate and sensitive, but also super small and energy efficient, because they're being used in these tiny devices and in large networks where power consumption matters.
Like everything else in tech these days, smaller and more efficient.
Absolutely. And we're also seeing a big shift towards smart sensor networks and IoT, the Internet of Things. This lets people collect data from tons of sensors and analyze it all in real time, which makes air quality monitoring way more responsive and dynamic.
So it's not just about reacting to a problem, it's about like preventing problems before they even happen.
Precisely. And this ties into another big driver, which is the demand for real-time data analytics. Being able to collect all this data and actually make sense of it, spot trends, predict issues, that's super powerful for managing air quality effectively.
It's like having a crystal ball for air quality.
Kind of, yeah. Now, geographically speaking, the Asia-Pacific region is like the powerhouse for VOC sensor growth. It's all about rapid urbanization and industrialization in places like China, India, Japan, and, the environmental regulations are getting stricter there too.
Makes sense. With all the industrial activity happening there, air quality has to be a big concern.
Right. But, North America and Europe are still major players in this market. They've already got those strict air quality standards, and they're using VOC sensors in like smart homes, advanced HVAC systems, and industrial safety protocols.
So it's like the established markets are still holding strong, but these new markets are coming up fast.
Exactly. And then, of course, you've got the advancements in the technology itself, like miniaturized sensors, wireless connectivity, even AI being integrated into detection technologies. It's making these sensors more versatile, accurate, and, easier to use.
Wow, AI and air quality monitoring. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got a good grasp of what's driving this market. Now let's talk about the companies. Who are the big players in the VOC sensor game?
Well, the report lists the top 10 companies, the ones leading the industry globally. We've got Honeywell International Inc., Siemens AG, ABB Ltd., Bosch Sensortec GmbH, Sensirion AG. Then there's Renesas Electronics Corporation, Alphasense, SGX Sensortec, Ion Science Ltd., and EcoSensors.
Okay, so that's the full list. But the report highlights the top five as being like the real heavy hitters, right?
Yeah, Honeywell, Siemens, ABB, Bosch Sensortec, and Sensirion. These are the companies with the biggest market share, and they're really pushing the boundaries in terms of innovation.
Right, let's break down each of those top five companies. Let's start with Honeywell. What makes them stand out?
Well, Honeywell is holding the top spot with a 17.5% market share. I think their strength comes from, their huge range of sensing technologies and their experience in industrial applications. They use both MEMS, those tiny mechanical sensors on a chip, and electrochemical sensing. And they're really focusing on miniaturization and low power consumption, which is key for portable devices and smart homes. Plus, they're investing heavily in R&D, over $2 billion USD. You'll find their sensors in cars, healthcare, environmental monitoring, smart buildings. They're everywhere.
So basically, they're big, they've got the tech, and they're putting in the money to stay ahead. What about Siemens? What are they known for?
Siemens is second in line, holding 12.3% of the market. Their strength is in industrial automation, smart infrastructure, and environmental monitoring. They mainly use semiconductor-based detection in their sensors. What's interesting is they've been doing some really innovative stuff with AI, using it for predictive maintenance in industrial settings. They're also working with car companies on in-cabin air quality solutions. They're big on sustainability, too, investing in greener sensor materials. You'll see their sensors in air purifiers, HVAC systems, industrial safety, stuff like that.
AI for like predicting when a machine might break down
Yeah.
based on the air quality? That's pretty wild. Okay, what about ABB?
ABB has a 10.2% market share, and they're all about industrial automation, making sure companies are compliant with regulations and providing those high-tech digital monitoring solutions. Their VOC sensors mainly use PID, which is photoionization detection, and NDIR, non-dispersive infrared technology. They're also big on cloud connectivity, especially for industrial IoT applications. Plus, they're focused on miniaturization and energy efficiency. You'll find their sensors in chemical plants, oil and gas, industrial manufacturing, all those heavy-duty industries.
So it's like they're bringing industrial air quality monitoring into the digital age with that cloud connectivity stuff. Next up is Bosch Sensortec.
Bosch Sensortec has a 7.4% market share, and they're a big deal in MEMS-based sensors, especially for consumer electronics and smart homes. Their sensors are tiny and energy efficient, which is perfect for things that run on batteries. They're also super into sustainability, using eco-friendly manufacturing processes. Their sensors are in air purifiers, wearables, smart home appliances, all sorts of consumer tech.
So they're like the go-to for the everyday tech we use. And last but not least, Sensirion.
Sensirion holds a 5.2% market share, and they're all about high-precision environmental sensing. They use a technology called CMOSINs, which lets them make super accurate sensors with very low power consumption. And get this, they've got these AI-powered self-calibrating sensors that can adjust themselves over time to stay accurate. They're also working on sensors for in-cabin air quality in cars and are very focused on sustainability. You'll find their sensors in cars, industrial settings, smart buildings, those kind of places.
Self-calibrating AI sensors. That's like next level. Okay, so we've got a good picture of these top five companies, but how do you actually compare them? What are the criteria used to evaluate companies in this market?
Well, there are several key things to look at. First, you've got revenue and market share. That tells you how well a company is doing financially and how dominant they are in the market.
Makes sense. The more money they make, the more successful they are.
Right. Then you've got to look at their product portfolio, like what types of VOC sensors do they offer? Do they have a variety, including PID, MOS, NDIR, to cover different applications?
So it's not just about having one great sensor, it's about having a whole range of sensors for different needs.
Exactly. And then you have to look at the actual features of the sensors themselves, like how sensitive are they? How fast do they respond? Are they energy efficient? How long do they last? Can they easily be integrated into different systems?
Those are all pretty important considerations, especially if you're like an engineer or someone who actually uses these sensors.
Absolutely. Then there's technological innovation. Are they using cutting-edge materials? Are they incorporating AI into their sensors? Are they offering wireless connectivity? Are they developing specialized solutions for things like electric vehicles, wearables, building automation?
So it's about being on the cutting edge and constantly pushing the boundaries.
Right. And then you have to consider their global presence. Do they have a strong distribution network? Do they have partnerships in key regions like Asia Pacific or North America? Can they reach customers all over the world?
It's like that saying, you got to be where the customers are.
Exactly. You also want to look at their investment in R&D. Are they putting money into research and development? Because that shows they're committed to innovation and staying ahead of the curve.
You can't just rest on your laurels. You got to keep pushing forward.
And then finally, strategic alliances. Do they have partnerships with companies in other industries like car manufacturers or industrial equipment suppliers? These partnerships can give them a real edge by expanding their reach and combining expertise.
So it's like teamwork makes the dream work.
Pretty much. Now, while we've been focusing on the big names, the report also points out some potential threats from up-and-coming companies.
Oh yeah, those disruptors. Who are these companies that are shaking things up?
Well, there's Renesas Electronics Corporation. They've got a strong background in semiconductors, and they're using that to get into the VOC sensor market, targeting smart homes, industrial automation, and the automotive sector. They're all about making sensors smaller and more sensitive.
So they're using their existing expertise to get a foothold in this new market. What about Alphasense?
Alphasense is all about gas detection. They specialize in electrochemical and PID sensors, and they're focused on industrial safety, environmental monitoring, and indoor air quality. They've been expanding their product line and building partnerships, especially in Europe and North America.
So they're like the gas detection specialists, and they're getting bigger and bigger. What about SGX Sensortec?
SGX Sensortec is all about innovation. They're developing new MOS and infrared sensors, and they're targeting smart cities, car cabin air quality, and industrial safety. They're really focused on making their sensors super selective and long-lasting.
So they're going for quality and reliability. What about Ion Science?
Ion Science specializes in TID technology, and their sensors are used in all sorts of industries, from industrial hygiene to environmental monitoring to health and safety. Their sensors are known for being tough and responding really quickly, which is super important in safety-critical situations.
Durability and speed are definitely key in those kinds of environments. And lastly, eco-sensors.
EcoSensors is all about affordability and ease of use. They make compact VOC sensors that are designed for homes and businesses. They keep their prices competitive, and they're focused on low-power designs so their sensors can be used pretty much anywhere.
So they're making air quality monitoring accessible to everyone. It sounds like all these emerging companies are finding their own ways to compete with the big guys. What are some of the common strategies they're using?
Well, they're focusing on a few key things. Many of them are investing heavily in R&D to develop even more advanced and specialized sensor technologies. They're also trying to keep their costs down so they can offer more affordable solutions. Sustainability is becoming a big deal too, with some companies focusing on eco-friendly manufacturing processes and energy-efficient designs. And of course, they're all trying to expand their reach, either geographically or by forming partnerships with companies in other industries.
So it's a combination of being innovative, cost-effective, sustainable, and strategic. Now let's say someone out there is thinking about jumping into this market. What advice does the report have for new entrants?
Well, the report makes it clear. You've got to develop innovative and cost-effective sensor technologies. That means focusing on sensitivity, selectivity, durability, and figuring out how to reduce power consumption and production costs. You've got to be able to compete on both technology and price.
So it's a tough balancing act. What else should new entrants keep in mind?
Well, it's important to pick your battles. Focus on specific high-growth areas like indoor air quality, industrial safety, automotive, smart buildings. You need to understand the specific needs of your target market.
Like they say, the riches are in the niches.
Exactly. And sustainability is becoming more and more important. People want eco-friendly products, and regulations are getting stricter. So you got to think about that too.
Green tech is the future.
Absolutely. The report also recommends targeting high-growth regions like Asia-Pacific, where demand for VOC sensors is booming. And forming strategic partnerships can be a game-changer. You can team up with companies that already have a foothold in the market or that can complement your technology.
So it's not just about going it alone. It's about finding the right allies.
And finally, don't forget about the importance of IoT and data analytics. Being able to connect your sensors and analyze the data in real time is a huge advantage in today's world.
Okay, so for those who want to get into this market, it's about innovation, sustainability, strategy, and data. Now, as we wrap up this deep dive, can you give us a quick summary of the key takeaways?
Sure. The VOC sensor market is growing rapidly, and it's projected to be worth almost 250 million USD by 2032. This growth is being driven by things like stricter environmental regulations, growing awareness of air quality issues, and advancements in sensor technology.
So basically, the market is hot and it's only getting hotter.
Exactly. The competition is fierce, with both established companies and newcomers vying for market share. The key to success is to be innovative, cost-effective, adaptable, and strategic. You need to develop advanced sensors, keep your prices competitive, be eco-friendly, and target the right markets.
It's a dynamic and challenging market, but there's definitely a lot of opportunity for those who can play their cards right.
Absolutely. And the report concludes that investing in research and development and diversifying your product portfolio is crucial for staying ahead. The demand for real-time air quality monitoring is only going to increase, so companies that prioritize innovation, collaboration, and global expansion are going to be the ones that succeed.
It's an exciting time to be in the VOC sensor business. Well, thanks for taking us on this deep dive. It's been really informative.
My pleasure. It's a fascinating topic.
And to all our listeners out there, we hope this deep dive has given you a better understanding of the VOC sensor market. We've covered a lot of ground, from the market size and growth drivers to the key players and the competitive landscape.
You know, it's really interesting to think about the bigger picture here. With all these VOC sensors being deployed everywhere, we're going to have access to so much data about the air we breathe. It could really change how we understand environmental health and maybe even influence our everyday choices.
It's like we're on the verge of a whole new era of air quality awareness. And for those of you who want to keep exploring, the report also mentions some related markets, like the air quality sensor market, the smart sensor market, the industrial safety sensor market, and the environmental monitoring market. There's a whole world of interconnected technologies out there.
Definitely. The world of VOC sensing is constantly evolving, and there are sure to be some amazing developments in the coming years. It's definitely a space to keep your eye on.
And on that note, we're going to wrap things up. Thanks for listening.